Let's now return to those developments in the United States and the situation with the Chinese telecommunications giant ZTE and get some reactions on that, though, from Africa. Let's now cross over to Deji Badmus. He's joining me from Nigeria. He's joining me from Lagos now. Deji, just how much of an impact has ZTE had in Nigeria in terms of bringing down the cost of telecommunications?
Well, Beatrice, the impact is enormous. As a matter of fact, thanks to ZTE, the price of a mobile phone, especially smartphone, has been crushed in Nigeria. In fact, it was when ZTE actually came into the market with its own brand of smartphones that the prices of smartphones across board started coming down. As a result, you have low-income earners, people you would regard as poor now, who now have access to the smartphone now, and it's one of the reasons why we say there's a lot more mobile penetration in the country today. And we're not just talking about mobile phone as itself, because other than mobile phone, we have ZTE as well, very much involved in the telecom sector in this country, providing services now for other local telecoms service providers. So the impact has been enormous, and there's no question at all that if this ban is allowed to stay and it affects the operation of ZTE, definitely the telecoms market in this country will be very much affected, because ZTE is a very significant player here.
Right. Deji, and one notable effect of that U.S. ban is the likelihood that ZTE may be unable, though, to use the Android operating system. So just how drastic will this be to the mobile phone users in Nigeria particularly?
To be candid, Beatrice, it will be very, very drastic. That would have enormous impact, because the Android operating system is the most popular in this country. And I want to believe it's the most popular across the continent. But in Nigeria, it is the most popular, the most easily accessible, nothing at all. I mean, you just can't compare iOS, for instance, to it. You can't compare Windows to it. Android system is the in thing in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, it is what is driving several applications in this country. So if that is affected, that will have enormous impact when you talk about app development. For instance, now we have local chaps in this country who are developing their apps, and they're doing that on the Android operating system. So most of the mobile phones you have in the country, of course, you have Apple phones that are driven by iOS, but the bulk of the smartphones you have in this country today are driven on the Android application system. So if that is affected, it would have an enormous impact. So, possibly it's not something we should begin to think about, because the impact will definitely be enormous, Beatrice.
And as we talk about the impact to the end user, though, has there been any reaction so far from Nigerian telecommunication companies that are being served by ZTE?
Well, for now, we haven't had any reaction yet, but I want to believe that will come, because, I mean, this is still a developing story. It's an unfolding development, but we're definitely going to get a reaction from the telecoms industry here, especially when you consider the fact that ZTE is deeply involved in the telecom sector in this country. For instance, sometime in 2016 or 2017, it was awarded the Nigerian Railway communication contract. That is very important, because now the government is trying to expand railway services in this country. You have Chinese companies that are involved, and ZTE was given that contract. That will be affected. ZTE providing telecom services now to some of the local operators here. If the ban stays, their services will definitely be affected. So I think it's just a matter of time before we begin to get some kind of reaction. As a matter of fact, we are trying to get across to the head of the private telecom operators in the country. As soon as we're able to do that, we'll let you know. But there's no question at all that we're going to get some kind of reaction in the coming days, because whatever happens to ZTE will definitely impact its services in this country.
Deji Badmus joining us there from Lagos. Thank you.